Good morning, everybody. We have another positive affirmations Tuesday, and it wouldn't be a live stream in the studio without the puppies saying hi. There's puppy one. Here is puppy two. Okay, go sit down. So, positive affirmations Tuesday. I, you, whoever is there, we I usually pick a topic for us, and of course, it usually tends to be something that I'm struggling with. This week, the topic is boundaries. I've done it before. Um, Boundaries because I have several people in my life that I struggle with boundaries with, and I know a lot of other people do too. And what I've found is setting boundaries. It's the hardest part. It's not that I don't, maybe not setting the boundaries is the hardest part, but stating the boundaries is the hardest part, making them really clear to other people in your life. Because I'm going to tell you what I found, and that is that, I'm old. I haven't established boundaries and made them clear much in my life at all up to this point. And what I have found is people in your life are not going to like it. They're not going to like it at first. There's going to be a lot of pushback and a lot of, I have somebody in my life that's extremely toxic. She swears she's not. She projects actually her behavior and really nasty character traits onto me. It's almost as if I have become her whipping boy, if you will. It's like she punishes me for the character defects in her own life, and tries to convince me that it's true. So it's toxicity, and it's just a really gross relationship. The power dynamic is really skewed. And because I dedicated 2.5 years to building her business while she did nothing for it, I think she even feels more threatened, as if I want her business, when if I wanted it, I would go start my own like it. I don't want it. I did it for her. I don't want a business like what she has at all. I'm a creative type. I'm not a whatever she does kind of type. But because she's so threatened or so deficient in herself, she projects her stuff onto me. And that's become even stronger now that I'm establishing boundaries. And in fact, I told her yesterday, I'm establishing boundaries, and I was well aware that people in my life wouldn't like it. But that's too bad because it's my life. So I think what you kind of have to hope is that eventually, if the people in your life and the relationships that really matter, if they really love you and care, then eventually they'll accept your boundaries and your limits, and have some respect for that. And if not, then it'll fade away. It'll fade away in a way that's healthy for you, and it doesn't really matter what their take on it is. So, but it's hard. It's definitely very, very, very hard. And let me see here. I have a reading. You know, I like to have some readings, and we're gonna get to that. Just a second. Oh, how awkward. 1 second. I did not turn off my, okay. This is a boundary. I need to start having people know when I'm live streaming, but you see, even though I've made it clear when I'm live streaming, if I don't take the extra precautionary steps that I'm doing now, by turning off my notifications, they're still going to bother me with stuff that doesn't matter. It's kind of my fault, I guess, for not turning on my do not disturb, even though I've made it really, really clear. And I've texted people my live stream schedule, and I've posted it, and I actually have a light coming today for outside of my studio so that I don't get interrupted. If I leave that much room, they'll still try to wiggle their way in. So let me just turn this off. I'm going to have to make a note to myself to get that done from now on. So I think that is done, and there we go. It is off, and I'm going to sneeze, I think. Okay. So anyways, like I said, I have been establishing boundaries, and I can tell when, I think we all can tell when those are getting pushed, because I get angry. I get really angry, offended. You just don't understand why people don't respect it. And so I got these new, I love the affirmation cards, and I got these new cards, and they're called mindful messages. And so they finally came in the other day. Never really know what you're going to get with them. But actually, they're pretty nice little cards. And I realized overly this past week has been really trying. It's been really trying. And I realized that one of these cards was perfect for the things that had been going on, that I didn't have to look at. I didn't have to look at I didn't have to look at what was going on when I would establish a boundary and it would get trampled, not just pushed, not just tested, but just literally trampled. I didn't have to get angry about it. It made me angry. I realized that all of it was just another. It was an offshoot. It was an offshoot of learning how to set my boundaries. And that offshoot was that every time it was tested, it was another opportunity for me to grow. And so one of these new cards that I got actually had a card that said opportunities for growth. And so I thought they're actually kind of cute little cards. A little bit different than the positive affirmation ones, but like I said, I really like them, and they're new. So the card says, everything is happening for me and my evolution. I am not a victim of the things that happen. I take ownership of my life and make the best of the challenges along my journey. I see how difficult moments help me to become my best version, and I'm thankful for them. Hard to be thankful when difficult things happen. I heard something a few years ago that I've tried to implement, and that is, I used to, when I was young, when bad things would happen, I would say, why is this happening to me? I didn't ask for it in any way, shape, or manner. I don't deserve it. Why is this happening to me? And I heard somebody say it, and that the universe isn't doing it to you, it's doing it for you. And I loved that. So now I try, it's not easy, human, human first, right? When crappy things happen, I try to say, instead of saying, why is this happening to me? I try to say, this is happening for me. It's uncomfortable. It's a growing period, growing. There's a phrase, growing pains are painful for a reason. And things can be challenged, that are challenges can be painful. Things that push us out of our comfort zone, especially the older we get, can be more challenging. But I try to, even if my first thought is, why is this happening to me? I try to immediately replace it with, no, it's not happening to me. It's happening for me. I can't see the end result yet, right? Kind of like a recipe when you go to the grocery store and then you come home and you put all the ingredients out, and you can't necessarily envision it right then, or even know necessarily how it's going to taste, especially if it's a new recipe, but it's going to happen. And that's how I kind of look at when crappy things happen. It's happening for me, and somewhere down the road, it's going to be this wonderful treat. It's going to be delightful. It's not easy, and I don't always, sometimes I grumble a bit before I remember to change that mindset. But it's a little bit helpful. Let's see who's here. Well, let me see here. Hello, everybody, and good morning. I forgot to post in Facebook, maybe a reminder that I was going to be here doing the positive affirmations every Tuesday, because it's new, right? Because I wasn't sure where I was going to do my live stuff at. I wasn't sure if it was going to be Facebook or YouTube. I just wasn't sure. And then, of course, I got that nasty bronchitis. So I really quickly went on and posted that I would be here. And I will be here every Tuesday. I mean, bearing, illness or something like that happening. And same thing on Thursdays for the creative visualization. And hopefully Sundays for the true crime stuff. So let's see. Boundaries regarding, Jenny, that's a different topic for a different place, not really on a public platform like this. And Trisha, how are you? I know that you had all those storms and things like that. Did you make it home safely? Are you back home? Or are you still on the road? I need some Lipton tea. Well, I decided I'm going to say that every single live stream. Actually, even when I was on a different platform doing this, the Lipton green tea was always what I drank. I put it in my tour bag, and so I've decided now I'm gonna make sure that when I have my green tea, I'm gonna go like this, and maybe one day Lipton will send me a case or at least a bottle. It's worth a try. It's worth a try. You got home last night. Good. I'm so glad. That's so worrying. Is that, when I was on the other platform is when I really got to know so many people from all over the world. And I don't know much about, the weather and types of kind of natural, I don't know, was it a natural disaster or was it just really scary? I don't know much about that in other areas of the world. And so I was really shocked when I saw your posting about it and having to evacuate. Is that something that is that typical to your region? I mean, is it something that, like here in the Midwest, where I'm not there, I'm on the West Coast, but in the states in the Midwest, there's tornadoes, um, there's hurricanes, Florida, Louisiana, kind of down by the Gulf. In the West Coast, we're prone to earthquakes, but we haven't had like a really huge, damaging big one for over 100 years. But the Midwest, they literally they have cellars like under the house where they can go kind of barricade themselves in when a tornado comes. Um, of course, we know what happened in the Wizard of Oz, where Dorothy was. Kansas is in the Midwest, and well, she went. So, is it something that I mean, is it kind of on your mind that it could happen at a certain time of year? I don't know anything about it, but I was worried about you. Okay, so it's unusual weather. It's supposed to be summer. Yeah. And I was surprised by that. It's so funny how I was surprised by that your seasons were different than mine. And it's so funny because we don't always see things as they are. We see things as they are for us, and we just think it's the same for everybody, right? And that causes huge misunderstandings. I'll tell you this. So when it's spring here or winter here, and then Trisha or Lynn would say, "Oh, like okay, well, it was winter here, and I think our winter was your spring," or something like that. But it was completely off, and I just was like, "Wait a minute, how could that be?" But it is. It just never occurred to me. I figured my spring was everybody's spring, right? I had no idea that the seasons kind of rotated like that. But and that's just a simple eye-opening thing, right? That's like, oh my goodness, just because it's spring here and great weather here, or summer here and hot here, doesn't mean that that's how it is for my friends or for people around the world. But I've just seen things as I see them through my eyes, and it reminded me of I think I was in the 4th grade, and it was obviously some kind of a special treat, and we it was always a special treat if it was not recess and we got to go out to the playground. So we got told, put our books away and this and that, and we were going to go out to like the soccer field, this playground area, and there was this huge. It looked like a huge beach ball, but huge, especially for a bunch of 10-year-olds, 9-10-year-olds. And what I mean, what I say by the beach ball, literally, this I can't even imagine because I was so little. The size of this thing, I couldn't see over it, and I couldn't see around it. I don't know, maybe it was 8 feet by 8 feet. I don't know. Anyway, it had when I say beach ball, it had it looked like little slices: red, orange, yellow, blue, green, right? And so there was all these, but it was called an earth ball, and so there was like 10 earth balls around the whole field, and all of us kids, maybe 6 of these color slices on each earth ball, so 6 kids per each earth ball. And we were each told to stand in front of one color, one slice. And so when everybody got quieted down and we were all in front of the color, one of the coordinators out there that had brought these things said, okay, so and so, what is, hi Sarah, welcome, or just this positive affirmations started about boundaries. And then we started talking about Trisha and the weather that she's been having. I was worried about her, and then that kind of morphed into a conversation about how I never realized that I always assumed when it was spring, it was spring. It was spring for everybody. Everybody all over the world. I didn't know. I mean, I knew that when it was day here, I knew that the moon and the sun kind of rotated. So, when it was day here, it might be night in Australia and other places. I knew that, but I didn't know about the seasons. And it got me thinking about how often it's totally natural that we just see things as we see things, and we assume that that's how everybody else, we assume that that's the experience for everybody else, and it causes so many misunderstandings. So this conversation has morphed into something else, but that's okay. I kind of like letting things organically happen, because oftentimes it ends up being the conversation. It could be a conversation way off the topic that I had planned, but ends up being the conversation that I needed, the discussion that I needed. So I was saying, just talking about that and these misunderstandings, and Trisha says, yeah, very true. I teach English to Russian students, assumed everyone in the whole world celebrated Christmas on the 25th of December, and a few years ago found out Russian students go to school on the 25th. Yeah, right? It didn't, those are simple assumptions, right? But so anyway, whenever I'm reminded, it's trash day. It's trash day on Tuesday morning, so anytime the trash trucks go down the street, we get an alert. So anyways, it reminded me of when I was in the 4th grade, and it was like a special assembly out in the yard. Yeah, every single Tuesday. Every single Tuesday, we get an alert, because those trash trucks are dangerous things. So it wouldn't be Positive Affirmation Tuesdays if you don't hear the dogs barking at some point. You're in the wrong group on the wrong day. You gotta laugh. What can you do? The trash truck is what it is. The puppies are what they are. And it's Tuesday. You just can't change. Sometimes you gotta laugh. So anyways, talking about how we see things and we assume that that's everybody else's reality. So 4th grade, I was 9 or I was 10. We all get called out to this special thing out in the field, and there's like probably 5 of these ginormous, they were called earth balls, but they look like huge beach balls. I would say, I was short when I was 9 or 10, so I couldn't see over it, couldn't see around it. Probably 8 feet by 8 feet, and it looked like beach balls because it had, how a beach ball will have the slices. Looks like a slice of different colors, right? And so I think there were 6 of them, 6 little slices. So we were told to choose a ball, and we were told to stand in front of a color. It was big, like the color was like really big. So once everybody, the whole class got dispersed, somebody said, one of the, of course we had an adult, probably 2 adults per 6 kids and 1 earth ball. But they said, okay, so-and-so, Stephen, what color is your earth ball? And Stephen said blue. And then the teacher said, well, Mary, what color is your earth ball? Yep, it's yellow. Annette, what color is your earth ball? It's green. And that was our reality. My earth ball was green. That was what I was standing in front of. It was all I could see. The slice was so big. Even though I knew coming out of the classroom onto the field, I knew that the earth ball had colors all around it. My earth ball in front of it was green. I wasn't wrong. Neither was Stephen. His was blue. For some reason, even in my 10-year-old mind, something latched onto that. Haven't always remembered it. I've still plenty of time in my adult life, in my teenage life, in my midlife, and probably in my old life. I stomped my feet and insisted running in and wanted everybody's reality to be my reality, or kind of a form of right fighting, right? Don't really know what you're fighting about, but you know you want to be right. And you're going to fight to the end until everybody agrees with you. So, but something in my little 10-year-old mind grasped that nobody was wrong. We were all right about the colors of our earth ball. Every single one of us was right, but every single one of our experiences was completely different. And I hope that makes sense, but it's something I try to remember when I'm having a difference of opinion with somebody, is that necessarily it can be the exact same situation, the exact same place and time. We can be partaking in the exact same activity, but our experience and our perception of it and our takeaway from it can be completely different. And yet all of them, it's all valid. Right? Yeah. And that's hard to remember in the moment, especially if it's an argument, and both people are on the defensive. You're on the defensive, you already are not interested in the other person's perceptions of what's happening or what has happened. How could you be receptive to it? You have your armor on. You have your armor on. You've got your shield, and you've got a spear. You're ready to, maybe a bow and arrows, and you're just ready to just sling those suckers. You're on the defensive. If you're on the defensive, you're already kind of pissed off. It's really hard to be open-minded and accepting of other people's feelings or experiences if you're angry. If you take a look at just prejudice, just any kind of prejudice, okay, it can be racist, it can have to do with religion, it can be misogyny, when people are misogynistic and have a prejudice towards women. I have rarely come across any type of prejudice where the person that is, hey, what is now with you? You let her play with that. Okay. We just had a disagreement over there over somebody's perception over whose toy that was. And it's both of theirs. And on any given day, they don't care. But I've never run across anybody who was projecting some kind of prejudice that wasn't angry, just an angry person inside. And so, and on the defensive, and just ready to tell you why they were right to have this prejudice and this anger towards this person or this group of persons. Okay. And when we fight, or when we have a falling out with somebody, a lot of times it's hard to repair if sometimes people aren't even interested in coming to the table to even talk about it. And if they do, they bring all their armor and all their anger and all these feelings of what you've done to me and how it made me feel and how dare you and how could you and this and that. It's really just hard to remember that even though you may have been in the same place at the same time and had the same conversation, you thought you were having the same conversation, doesn't necessarily mean that their earth ball isn't red from where they were standing, while yours is green, and that you're both right. It doesn't mean that they're right. Their reality and experience is just different than what you assumed it was. Okay, does that make sense? I mean, it's so off topic of what I had planned that I kind of feel like I'm all over the place with it. But so I mean, maybe in a way it does circle back to boundaries. So I've been trying to establish boundaries, and it's hard sometimes to establish boundaries when maybe the other person doesn't even understand why you're establishing them. Because maybe either the event, the catalyst that made you decide I'm going to start establishing these boundaries in this relationship, maybe that event wasn't that it didn't transform them the way it transformed you, and you're both there at the same time, but you're on different planes. So then you decide to establish a boundary, or you decide to say, I need some space, and the other person then feels rejected and confused, and because they don't understand. They don't understand what happened. They were right there. They were right there. What happened? What happened? So it's hard to establish the boundaries, and then you start to get the pushback, and then there's some anger, right? Yeah, and of course, then our past experiences are going to form. I mean, that's going through experiences is how it's just how we become who we are. So I've talked about the way I grew up. There wasn't any talking. There wasn't any discussion. There wasn't any warm and fuzzy. There wasn't any validation of any feelings. You get you get smacked, like literally across your face, and start crying, which is the appropriate reaction, and only to have it met with, stop crying, or I'm going to give you something to cry about. What do you just did give me something to cry about? Do you know what I mean? Like, not that people generally smack you on the face and then hug you, but I mean, it was, or take that look off your face, right? Because you're upset, but take that look off that face. Nobody wants to see it. Or we're not getting out of this car until you put a smile on your face. Well, you just turned around and backhanded me for fighting in the back seat with my brother. It's going to take me a minute. I'm 7. It's going to take me a minute to reset and put a smile on my face before we go into grandma's because you don't want her to know what just happened. And that's confusing at 7. But yeah, even those experiences, what you experience at 7 turns you into who you are at 8 and 9 and 10, and right? Right. Not allowed, not allowed to own your own emotions or express them. And I think I'm kind of finding that the more I talk to people that are my age, it seems to be generational almost. That was just the way that parents kind of, not every parent said it was, that was the speak when spoken to, don't interrupt, go outside, just that. That's what I experienced. But all that turns you into who you are. And so, yeah, that's what I'm finding here, that it's really common. It was just common parenting. I mean, somebody, if you acted up, say you're outside playing with a group of kids, right? And you act up and like the mom down, like 3 or 4 houses down saw it, yeah, she could smack you. Like 100%. She could take you out, right? And then take you by your ear and drag you down to your parents and tell them what you did, and then you get smacked again in front of her, and they thank her for smacking you. No way could you do that now in the States. You could hardly smack your own kid in the privacy of your own home, let alone do it out in the street. But yeah, it seems to be a generation thing. As a kid, you don't get that. Here we go again with kind of the perception. Living in the same house, right? Living in the same house as your parents, your siblings, whatever, grandparents, sometimes there's multi-generational homes. All living in the same house. No way is everybody having the same experience. So, my brother and I had no idea, right? We didn't know why we got smacked for fighting. Sometimes we could fight and just get told to go outside. Sometimes we could, have that sibling fighting or whatever and just get told to go to our rooms or sit in the corner. Sometimes we get smacked. Sometimes we both get smacked. Sometimes one would get smacked more than the other. But we didn't know what was going on. We didn't know. Yeah. So I was the oldest. So, but here we are living in the same house, and my brother and I, our biggest issue, I guess, was fighting with each other from time to time, right? And we would have no idea why, depending on what we did, the response that we got from our parents or whoever was completely different. Because though we were living in the same house, the experience was completely different. We knew nothing about bills. We knew nothing about food. We knew nothing about going to work and being tired and having to come home to a messy house, fighting kids, and having to make dinner, do laundry, make sure homework's done. We knew nothing about that. Nothing. But we're living in the same house. I mean, not that I guess it's appropriate, really, at 7, 6, 7, 8, or whatever, for us to know all that. But we didn't know. And so I remember hearing a lot, just wait until you get older and have your own kids, right? And I think parents say that a lot, just wait till you get older. And then you'll understand, then you'll get it. And I think whether you have kids or not, you get it once you grow up and you understand. Being grown up and not having a bedtime and getting to eat ice cream anytime you want is pretty cool, but it's not always all it's chalked up to be, right? Because there are all these different responsibilities. And if you're in a marriage, even you both get up and you get ready and you go to work and then you come back home, but while you've gone out with the same mission to have a productive day at work and to earn money for the mortgage and the bills and the groceries, your experiences are totally different. Yet you're supposed to come home and kind of reset, be happy that you're home. And it just, I don't know, it can all, and it's hard enough being ourselves, let alone trying to worry about what the other person went through too. But I think it would save a lot of misunderstandings if instead of sometimes taking things personal, like let's say, your husband comes home and you've had a really good day and you're thinking, oh, there's this movie on TV and maybe we can order a pizza and have this movie. He's like, I'm going to go to bed early, or I'm going to go into the den and watch the game. And you kind of feel rejected when you don't really know what kind of day he had and you might not want to talk about it. It's not about you. Just because your day at work was great doesn't mean his was. And it doesn't mean it needs to be dissected and talked about. You just have to acknowledge, oh, I guess we both didn't have a great day. But oftentimes people will fight about it, right? And I'm just using that as an example. Oftentimes it's like, you never want to spend time with me. So now on top of that day, he's got a hysterical wife who feels like, are you having an affair? Right? It's just something crazy. All of a sudden it goes crazy. He just had a shitty day. He just wants to watch the game. His day wasn't your day. And now he's, wife's rejected, thinks he's having an affair. The dog's hiding under the bed. And now we have chaos. Nobody's talking. The game's ruined. The movie's ruined. I don't know what happened to pizza. And go to bed mad, wake up mad. But I think we just have to take into consideration not everybody's experience is our experience. Just because it's spring where I am doesn't mean that it's not winter where Trisha is, or summer where Sarah is. Just because my earth ball is green doesn't mean there's not blue or red. I think the world would be a better place if we would consider everybody else's feelings, but that doesn't always happen. So just do the best we can. But yeah, what do you guys think of that? I mean, have you guys had experiences like that where something just that simple, you want to spend time with somebody or whatever, and they're not returning your texts or answering your calls or whatever, and you really don't know why or what, but all of a sudden it gets bigger in your head and it becomes all about you, and it really, maybe later on when you find out about it, didn't have anything to do with you. It had something to do with them. And while it was great that you were being sensitive, you weren't being sensitive to them. Yeah, right? I mean, it happens. And we don't talk about it because it's embarrassing later when we find out how epically we overreacted. I mean, who wants to go tell anybody about that? Right? Because, we feel like a crazy person. Yeah, communication is really, really important. But I also feel like that's why it's important to have these, to do this. And even when I was on that other platform, I always really enjoyed doing, it was fun to get out and do things out and about and go to the museum and the swing bridge and stuff like that. I always enjoyed getting out and doing things like that, but I really enjoyed having um, well, I always liked doing stuff here in the studio, and and I always really liked like the more intimate little groups and stuff that we had like this, because this stuff is all human stuff, and it just feels good to talk about it. And even not just taking things personally, right, Sarah? I mean, there's things you should take personal. There's stuff, like there's stuff that really needs to matter. Um, your 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 like your standards. Like if you want to take something personal, when it comes, if to your relationships, then have standards for your relationships. Have standards. Have a blueprint of how you think a relationship should be, and make that important to you. Make it a priority, right? What's important to you in a relationship? Don't get into a relationship with somebody that you have nothing in common with, and you don't share the same standards or beliefs. There's just going to be constant conflict. You're always going to take it personal because it's going against the very grain of everything you ever wanted, but you're taking it personal just a little bit too late. Take it personal before you get into the relationship. If you really need communication, don't get into a relationship with a non-communicator. It's really simple. It's really simple. Yeah. Trisha says, yeah, I always did. Now I'm a bit tougher. Yeah, you're a real toughie, Trisha. You are just like a marshmallow. I don't know. But if that's tougher than what you used to be, I would drink my Lipton tea to that. We'd love that for you. You are such just the softest, sweetest. I just can't even imagine conflict with you ever. Anybody having conflict with you ever. Oh, I know it's happened, right? Can't not happen. Is my green tea. I want Lipton to be sure to see this, just in case somebody from Lipton should accidentally hit 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 one of my videos, because they never come on purpose. No, I think it's good to talk about this stuff, and it's good to talk about it, and just to get it out there, because when somebody else talks about it, it makes it okay. It makes it less scary to talk about it, right? But every misunderstanding is an opportunity um, for growth. Some misunderstandings can end friendships, work relationships, or work. Sometimes there can be a misunderstanding at work, and there's rollover from home, and you quit your job. And maybe it didn't need to be that serious, right? Boundaries and standards you can't expect. Yes, nobody's going to know what your boundaries and your standards are, unless you care enough about them to make sure that they're known and put out there in a really kind of a respectful way. I kind of have like the three. I call them the three A's of if there's some kind of conflict, or if somebody's not getting it. So first I'm assertive, and then I get a little more aggressive, not physically, but first I'm assertive, and I just go, hey, whoa, wait a minute. Yeah, I'm sorry, that's not going to work for me. Then I get a little more aggressive. It's more like hey, do you understand did you hear what I just said? Do I need to say it a different way? And then at the third step is action. I'm going to remove myself from the situation. I'm not going to put up with it. If it's that, and what I mean by remove myself from the situation, I mean, I'm not talking drastic, like, that's not what happened in my marriage. I didn't say, hey, could you pick up your socks? Hey, could you pick up your socks? That's it. We're getting a divorce. I don't mean that. I mean, remove yourself from the situation before it gets too heated, because then nothing good's going to come of it, right? Where are we at? Yeah, but you have to, so common to ghost people today rather than communicate. Well, I think that some of that, the ghosting, you think ghosting, I think, so let's face it, it's pretty rare on a social media platform, right? Or Facebook or whatever. It's pretty rare to really be able to cultivate really strong, consistent friendships. It's they generally tend to be, not all of them, but they tend to be just a little more superficial, okay? Because social media, Facebook, whatever, is it's entertainment, right? That's how the majority of people look at it. It's entertainment. So if it's a superficial relationship, and let's remember that if you're communicating on social media, it's, I mean, it tends to be like messengers, right? Which is just like a text message. How many of you have misinterpreted a text or a messenger because it's words and you can't see the person's face, you can't hear the inflection in their voice, you don't know if they're making a joke, which maybe they were, and you just read those words verbatim, and you could be having a bad day, and you completely misinterpret the message behind the message. Has anybody ever done that? I have. So if that friendship and that relationship was started, yeah, right. So listen, look, we're all talking about, it's embarrassing when you do that, right? So then you either make a big brouhaha over it, right? And the other person's going, what? Okay, crazy person, right? Okay, psycho. What? Okay, right? You make this huge. You sent 3, 4, 5, 6 texts, right? How dare you? Right? They're reading. They're reading. I'm going, what? Like I was joked. What is this? You don't really know each other. Never hung out in person. You met pretty much through a click, Facebook request, or a like, or a follow, or whatever, right? So all of a sudden you have a crazy person in front of you, or shoes on the other foot, you have somebody who you think is incredibly rude and insensitive. What a pig to have just said this to me. So it started with a click, it ends with a click. Block, delete, right? That's ghosting. But the friendship was a ghost of a friendship. I mean, it's hard. It can happen to really find true, meaningful connections on a social media platform. People do it, like, because people have even found love, marriage, stuff like that, partners for life. It can happen, but it takes a lot more work than if you're physically in the same place where you can see the person, hear the voice, and go have experiences with them. When it's just a little strand of words put together, and that's how you know the person, or even if it's a few video chats. It's still, it's kind of it's not a fully evolved friendship. So if it's not fully evolved, and like I said, it started with a click, I think it's just really easy for people to end it with a click. So I think that's um, where the ghosting is not a new concept. It's not um, ghosting is not just um, social media, right? So I mean, I'm old. Um, ghosting in the 80s or 90s was simply not returning somebody's phone call. It's the same thing, right? It's the same thing. And it just, well, 100%. Hello, Christina Patterson. We sure can ghost in real life. And, social media has also brought on just like all these different levels of separation. So, I mean, like I said, some people have found really genuine friendships on it, and love and marriage, and really real stuff. Um, that's just that's just wonderful. That it just so enriches their lives, right? And then people have been catfished, right? People think, people invest all this time, think that they're in love with this person, all these hours, all this, and come to find out this wasn't even their picture, wasn't their name, not at all who they are. That's not their life. They're already married, right? So I think that sometimes that's also kind of running in the back of people's heads. You have to be a little bit careful. So yeah, I think it can be really easy to ghost somebody rather than communicate. Who are as crazy, as confused as you are? Yeah, yeah. I am. Yeah. I don't. I don't like to play games. I don't like to. Um, I don't like to have to be a certain way with people. Like I can only be. Like you have people you can only be happy around, or you can only be this or only be that. You know, show up as who I am. So, oh yeah, for people that can, Christina says she's involved with somebody online who is a narcissist and preyed on vulnerability. Well, they're definitely out there, especially online, right? And I uh, I'm terrified by online dating, and I'm kind of fascinated by it too. Interesting to me that you could go online and post pictures and certain things about yourself, and then I potentially find people. It's fascinating to me. Um, but then at the same time, I remember in the 80s and 90s just going out with my friends, and some guy would come up to you, or it was somebody that you work with, or it was a friend of somebody that you worked with, or it was a friend of a friend, or it was a brother of a friend of a friend. And I kind of miss that, but um, I I don't know that society will ever go back to that. Authentic people running, yes, people that are authentically confused and crazy. No, I think confusion is a natural state of being human. Life's confusing. Life can be confusing, and just when you think you've got it figured out, right? Something will mow you down. So we just do the best we can. And I figure that by the time I'm 98 years old, I will know exactly who I am, exactly what I want in a partner, exactly what my life's true calling is, and I'll die. And maybe that's the way it's supposed to be. I don't know. Get another Lipton shout out there. Yeah. Yeah, just guys like that one. Think about it. I think Benjamin Button had it right. Like, remember, uh he was born old or something like that, right? And then he got younger. He like died as a baby, and I'm like, yeah, like, yes. Just think if that worked. I don't know what the what the age, the year spectrum was, but yeah, if that worked, then that would mean that really when I was 98, let's just say this, 98, I'd have it all figured out, right? I would know what I wanted, what my calling was, and my place in the world, exactly who I was, exactly what I wanted in a partner, and I would have a really banging body to go with it. 28, right? I mean, that I could put it all to use, right? Instead of trying to go out clubbing at 98 years old, because now I know what my perfect partner is going to look like. Yeah. Probably the night before. Probably the night before. But at least, that's how I look at it. At least at some point it will all make sense. And maybe that last breath will actually just be like, right? Just like this long exhale, like, okay, I have it figured out. All right. It was all worth it. I got it now, right? Then who knows what happens after that. But it's okay. I think, there's a lot of pressures in life to be this or have this, right? By the time you're this age or that age or whatever, right? You guys remember all that talk about biological clocks and stuff like that? All this pressure that you should be married by 25 and have, your boy and a girl by 28, 29. You buy your first house at 30, and you should own your own, definitely be in your own your own businesses or be pretty high up in the company, like your mid 30s. Make sure you start putting in the IRA by this age, right? You got to start putting in your retirement account by that age. Cars should be paid off by that age. Start saving for the children's college funds at this age. House should be paid off by this age. Retire at this age. Then maybe go on a couple cruises because you'll start having fun. And then your kids, then the cycle starts again. Then your kids have kids, and then it's time to be a grandparent. And there's all this. No, that's not how life is. And then everybody's feeling panic and like they're behind. All these people that are feeling like they're behind, other people that are panicking to catch up, and then the other people that we label as the overachievers, right? I don't know. I don't like all that timeline stuff. Your biological clock stopped ticking at 25. Wrong. Reincarnation, that's horrifying to me. Well, a lot of different theories on that. But I just think that don't worry about the timelines. Don't get stuck so much in your head. It's not everything is about you. Your spring is not everybody's spring. Your great day is not everybody's great day. Your good time at the concert wasn't everybody's good time at the concert. Ever walk out of a movie with your best friend and you're just like, oh my God, I love that. I got to tell everybody about it and I want to see it again. And your friend is like, that sucked. I cannot believe that I just spent 2 hours in there. It's 2 hours of my life I'm never going to get back. And you look and you're horrified. You're like, what? Were we just in the same? Yeah, you were just in the same movie. Okay, you've got to remember, not everybody's experience is your experience, and don't take it personal. And leave some wiggle room. Let people be human. But when it's really, really serious, when it really matters, then know your boundaries and have your boundaries and your standards in place. And just remember that really everybody out there is just doing the best they can, just like you. They can. And they can have their own experience. They can have their own reality of the same experience. And it doesn't necessarily have to take away from yours. So just do the best that you can and let other people do the best that they can until what they're doing is toxic and counterproductive to what you're doing. And that's when the boundaries come in. That's when your boundaries come in. So, okay, let's do a reading. Coco is being very needy today. Of course, her sister almost ate the dog off of you for touching. Huh, was that confusing? It was. It was awful, huh? Jemima's been trying for 2 days to get you to play with that pink donut, huh? And then you finally go to grab it and she just tears into you, huh? That was confusing. Yeah, she goes, they went at it over that thing. Jemima was trying to get her to play with it forever. And then, they have their little bed down there. And they after they get their little moment, now Coco doesn't even want to be in the bed with her. Coco finally goes to grab it, and Jemima wants to curl up and take a nap. Jemima was just like, oh, it's crazy. Anyways, poor thing. All right, yeah, oh, little Coco. Okay, so let's see. Yeah, well, I don't know who was making the boundaries there, but Jemima's in the bed, and Coco is with me. Okay, so this is today's. I'm going to do it by today. And that is, in this one, the journey to the heart. Okay. And it is value your connection to truth. Trust what you know. Oh my God, how could this tie into what we were talking about? This is so weird. Weird. Trust what you know, not what you think you know, but what you know in your heart. We often know the truth long before we let ourselves see and believe it, long before we're ready to acknowledge it. For many reasons, fear, timing, and a myriad of issues too long to list, we ignore and discount what we know in our heart. But the truth doesn't go away. What's true, what we know to be true, will nag at us and haunt us. And even if we try to run away from that truth, our experiences will ultimately lead us back to it. Life may bring us many issues we want to run from, issues that are a challenge. But the real challenge we face is learning to trust ourselves and trust what we know to be true. Maybe someone once told us that we couldn't be trusted. That's too bad. But what's worse is that we began to believe it and started to tell ourselves that too. And then the affirmation saying after that reading is, your heart can be trusted. Don't doubt it. It will inevitably connect you to what's true. Love yourself enough to trust what you know and then stay connected to the truth. So that's about boundaries, right? It's about sticking to what you know is right for you. Also about, I liked how it said sometimes what you think you know, you don't really know. Um, like I think it's spring and it's really, monsoon weather for somebody else. Um, I, but I kind of all tied that back together. And then some people came in just a little bit later. I had gotten these new cards. You're welcome. Thank you. They're called Mindful Messages, and they're actually kind of cute. And what I like about boundaries, even though establishing boundaries can oftentimes go hand in hand with some conflict and confrontation, um, it's not a bad thing because that conflict and confrontation can either, it can do a lot of things. It can give you a chance to establish your boundaries and make them known. It can give you a chance to hear the other person's side of something and understand, whoa, we had totally different, our realities were totally different. Um, and I thought we were on the same page. But they're all kind of opportunities. Um, you guys have probably heard me say this a lot before. I used to say, why is this happening to me? Why, when really bad things would happen. And then I heard somebody rephrase that somewhere a while ago, and now I try to remember the universe isn't doing this to me. The universe is doing it for me. This is part of a recipe. It just right now looks like a mess on the counter. Eventually it's going to be a cake. I just can't see that now. So, you will take a heavy load off of your heart if you try to look at things as opportunities rather than catastrophes. Because opportunity is something that is probably happening for you. Catastrophe probably happened to you. If you can change the verbiage inside your head, which is what affirmations are about, right? It's about changing the verbiage, changing the way you talk to yourself, changing the way you translate your inner self-talk. It's like it's like being a tour guide in another country, taking around people that are from another country and so you need a translator to translate the experience to them. That's what your inner self-talk is. Your inner self-talk is the way you're translating what happened to you and how you're digesting what happened to you. And that's why we want to change it to positive affirmations. We want to change that talk. And often it's just as simple as changing, God, I can't believe this is happening to me, to, oh my God, I can't believe this is happening for me. That's one word that was changed. One word that was changed. Yes, it takes much longer to unlearn something than it does to learn it. So that's what affirmations are, right? We're changing the verbiage. We're changing the way we translate the outer experience to our inner, our inner reflection, because we're going to think about it, we're going to ponder it, and if it's been an ugly thing and we digested it really ugly and took it really personally, we're going to digest it again and regurgitate it again and again and again and again and make it bigger, and it's going to obviously affect other things. So that's what affirmations are all about, right? We're changing the verbiage, we're changing the way that we're translating the experiences and yeah. Okay, so anyway, today's card, these are really cute little cards, and today's card happened to be opportunities for growth. Everything is happening for me and my evolution. I am not a victim of the things that happen. I take ownership of my life and make the best of the challenges along my journey. I see how difficult moments help me to become my best version, and I'm thankful for them. It's hard to be thankful in the moment when it's happening. I was not thankful when I was going through my divorce. I was not thankful at all. I am beyond filled with gratitude now. It was one of the most painful things I ever went through in my life. It forever will remain so. And it was almost 30 years ago. Okay, but it was catastrophic, right? I couldn't be more grateful for having gone through that. So, but you couldn't have told me back then. This is happening for you, sister. This is opportunity for your growth. You will not imagine how you're going to feel about this in 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, 25 years. It doesn't take away the painful things that happened in the marriage. The divorce doesn't negate that or make them less. But there was only one way out. Well, there's probably two ways out of that marriage, I guess. It was divorce or death, right? So, but you couldn't have told me back then that I would ever be grateful for that. That divorce was an opportunity for me to evolve and to move on and do other things with my life. You could have told me that now. It was just too painful. And I wouldn't have signed up for it even if you had told me it. But it was there, and I had to go through it. And not that I want anybody to go through a divorce. Don't do it if you don't have to. I had to. Okay? So there's other things that happened that are catastrophic. It doesn't negate the pain, but sometimes some of the most painful things you go through in life are sometimes those things that you go through that are so painful, so confusing, filled with some of the darkest emotions that just feel that are just like a weight around you. I mean, I remember waking up and just like every day you wake up and and then you wake up and then you're just like, oh God, right? It was like it's just a weight around my whole person. And I couldn't have believed that going through that would be one of the most freeing things that ever happened to me in my life. You know, that having gone through that, how I would just look at things maybe 6 months, a year down the road, just the pleasure I took suddenly in the littlest things. It was almost like getting my first apartment all over again. You know, that I had this bigger respect and understanding and joy in the little freedoms. You know, not having to ask anybody else what they wanted for dinner, or not having to ask anybody else what they wanted in TV, wanted to watch on TV. So simple little things, right? But I remember having so much joy and pleasure in that in my first apartment, not having to ask anybody, you know, when we were having dinner or whatever. I got to do what I wanted to do and cook what I wanted to cook and watch what I wanted to watch, go to bed when I wanted to go to bed, and stay in my pajamas and read magazines or books all day if that's what I wanted to do. And there was this renewed pleasure in some activities when I came out on the other side of that darkness. But I didn't know then it was an opportunity for that, to be reintroduced to just some of life's simplest joys and contentment. And so conflict can actually be opportunity. Yeah, it just can. At least it was for me. So it was for me. And so I wouldn't change it for the world. It had to be changed. It's just the change, going through the process was unimaginable. So, but try to remember that when it's not easy, but when you do have conflict or something with somebody, just try, instead of immediately getting angry, just go, you know, I don't have all the facts. I have all my facts, but I don't have their facts. I don't know. And you might never know what the other person's, all their facts are, their side of it. Try to remember that you don't know all the facts, and they don't know all the facts, and maybe a conversation would help that. Sometimes a conversation isn't always You can't always have that, but you can look at it, even if nothing else, as an opportunity for you. Um, Even if the resolution isn't what you want, an opportunity for you to be reminded that everybody's going through their own journey. So don't take it so personal. And that takes a lot of pressure and a lot of pain and a lot of confusion off of us when we just allow other people to have their own experience and not make it about us or make it sync with our experience. It will make your life a lot simpler. I promise you it will. What do you think? Doable? It's doable. Doable. It just takes practice. Just takes practice. Okay. Thank you guys. I'm glad you found me. I'm sorry that I'll start to post reminders. I realized when I got in here that I hadn't posted a reminder. And so I really quickly posted a reminder, but I promise you this is where I will try to be every single Tuesdays and Thursdays, and probably start to do it on Sunday nights again. But until we all are confident in that, because there's been a lot of ups and downs with my streaming since I left the other platform and with being sick. Until we do that, I will treat the reminders for my groups as affirmations. I will put them out there until you just believe in them you just believe that I'll be here and you come right to the channel and you don't need the reminder anymore. Because one day that's how it'll be with the affirmations. You'll take some affirmations that you need and you'll repeat it and you'll work on that lesson. You work on that lesson for a while, and one day you'll realize you didn't need the lesson. You don't even have to practice the lesson anymore. It's now you just know, right? So, well, thank you guys for being here. I enjoy it, and I always grow, and I always feel better. And even if it's not what I thought we were going to talk about, that's what I love about the interactiveness of it, because it's not just my show. It's not a show at all. I mean, it's a show if LinkedIn wants to sponsor it. Then it's a show. It's a big show. Well, I appreciate the efforts that you guys all make and that you stuck with me through all this. And really, I mean, Sarah, good God, it's the middle of the night for you. So, I don't know. Oh, poor Coco. Coco's like, Mom, don't put me down there. What happened? Are you traumatized? Yeah, oh my God. All right. Everybody have a really great day, whatever you're doing. Trisha, I'm so glad you're safe. Stay safe. And enjoy being back at home, right? That's got to feel good. And I will see you guys all somewhere else soon. Okay? Be kind. Be kind to yourself. Be kind to others. Find every single reason you can to smile. Look for opportunities to grow and perfect, okay? Bye, you guys.